Asha actually means hope in Hindi, but for us it stands for Action for Self-Reliance, Hope and Awareness, and the word also is creating hope in the women we wanted to work for. India has multiple problems. One of the biggest is gender, and it's just a land of contrast. Just the way you revere your mother and put her up on a pedestal, and mother's everything, but a wife doesn't have the same standing as far as men are concerned. Right from the time a child is conceived and they know it's a girl, the rejection begins right there for the child. Aborting the fetus, if it's a girl child, became rampant, and our sex ratio dropped dramatically. You must remember, though there is money or there are rich people in India, the majority of people are poor, and they're rural, and anything that affects the rural area, a lot of them migrate to the urban in search of work, and then they squat wherever they can. Slums come up, there's no water, there's no house, and state to state we have different languages, so there are language problems. So not only are they vulnerable from where they come financially, language-wise, in everything, it's a survival for many of them, living on the pavement where there is no security even in the tin sheds that they build. Because the big thing is rape or any sex before marriage is considered very, very detrimental to the girl's matrimonial prospects. So they try to get the girl child married as soon as possible. And the other thing that's very motivated much of this thing of controlling the girls was a girl had to get married and go to her in-laws' place. She had to please everybody in the house, right from the mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, husband, anything. So parents would kind of hesitate even to groom their child, a girl. No education, no thoughts, no decision making, no nothing, like a carte blanche or a blank thing. Let her get married, go to her in-laws' place, and let them mold her to their needs was the basic thing. And even now, sending girls to schools, but not encouraging them to make decisions, not encouraging them to assert themselves. All comes out of the thing. Oh, she may be ill-treated at her in-laws' place if she has a mind of her own, if she says things. So we are protecting her. So all the wrong concepts of protection of the girl, instead of letting her protect herself, it's like bundling her up and offering her ready for abuse on every kind of thing. No education, no medical health, no thinking, no self-assertion, none of that is supposed to be good. She's supposed to be humble, quiet, sacrificial, putting other people's interests first, unlike men. Because of the expectations from women, even in a marriage ceremony, a woman is responsible for everything that happens in an in-laws place. So there's a whole lot of expectations from her. When she comes in, she's going to bring a whole lot of stuff, right from the dowry that her parents have to beg, borrow, steal, or get into debt and bring. But that itself is like she brings that dowry, so she's bringing good luck, she's bringing money. And if supposing a 92-year-old father-in-law, grandfather-in-law in the house has been ailing for 20 years or whatever, dies after she gets married and comes in, she's blamed. It's the bad luck she's brought in. Like a blessing that's given to every married couple is, may you be the mother of 100 sons. There's a book written on that too. So the fact is, when a woman has a son, she's elevated suddenly. And her attachment to that son, that enmeshment is so much, because that's where she has any standing in society and anything. So when he gets married, she's like, her rights are being taken away. She's being said, another woman is coming into her life and doing things. So even unconsciously, subconsciously, all this psychology plays into the whole thing. And she sees the daughter-in-law as an enemy who's going to take away so much from her than anything else. That's a friend of mine, she and I decided to start Asha with the hope that we'll be able to let the women know what their rights are. Even in abuse, you know what it is. Why do women stay, even the educated ones? Because society has put the burden of keeping the family together on the woman. So she tries, she hopes, she struggles in many things. But in India, to say that families stay together, families are a great support, that's a great positive point where they're functional and good. But where they're dysfunctional and not good, the whole brunt of it is borne more by the women than anybody else. Working as a crisis walk-in center, we also began to think we really need to look at this at the preventive level too. That's when we started working with the girls, while we were talking to the women in the communities and telling them their rights, etc. The little girls, sometimes girls used to wander and sit with their mothers. And then we started working with the girls, trying to keep them in school, trying to delay the age of marriage, trying to help them make little decisions and seeing that it's okay, and getting them role models. So in an attempt to help girls to become stronger, to be more educated, to have a life of their own, we started this girls group. But like women are thrown out of their homes at the whims and fancies of the husband overnight. The Stockholm syndrome or whatever, sometimes they are all the time even believing that they deserve it, they're bad, they must have done something, and they kind of align with the abuser in many cases. And this is not only, what will I say, very poor. All the poor people, it comes out. But there are people, it cuts across. And I've seen it in America too. Domestic violence cuts across all societies and all of them. So it's like, what we're really striving is to help the woman to make the decision for herself. So that's what motivated us to really maybe work with these girls, delay the age of marriage, to help them work on these issues. With the girls, we're doing as holistic as possible, not only keeping them in school, giving them extra tutoring, looking after their nutrition, giving them a medical exam. And then we're also very sensitive to any emotional problems the girls may have. They have a lot of trauma in their house, beating, violence. It affects them. We encourage them to talk about it. If needed and when needed, we call them to talk to the psychiatrist. Interventions are done in all of those. And I think we've come quite a long way. It's been a long time. Earlier on, parents would never even allow them to come to the meetings, leave alone outing, full day outing. But now they let them be with us even overnight. They've gained a lot of confidence in Asha, in their own daughters through that, and that's what we do. Keeping a balance, I think, really, you have to be very careful. That's what I said, sudden change, sudden things, and if they're not able to handle things, is a big thing. You have to be able to gauge. That's why when we're working with these girls also, we have to see what they're ready for and only do those things and bring this change in very slowly and help them to take the decisions themselves, because the consequences they've got to bear. And they've got to understand some of these things. And we're supportive of many things, but we're not pushing them to do anything they're not ready for. Our whole aim in Asha is to help them, if they come into a situation like this, to know how to deal with it and work on that. Before we had thoughts of dealing with this trafficking problem because it's humongous. It's really big. And when the police go and pick them up, these girls are terrified. They don't know. They've already had so much abuse. They don't know who else is coming in and what's going to happen to them. And the police coming, picking them up, bringing them there. Again, the brothel keepers who pose as parents come back and take these children back. They came out thinking they're going to do better, earn money, do better for their families and make things easier for their families. But when these young girls are lured into it and brought in and literally abused, they're beaten up into submission, they're drugged into submission, all kinds of things, and dehumanized in the whole thing, yes. And it's again, I think, to do with the fact that the way you view women as commodities, that's a huge problem. It's really